Welcome back to episode 59. I say welcome back, but I know about half of you have never seen one of my videos before. So as a quick sort of overview, about a year ago I bought an old Porsche 928 that didn't run. And I foolishly thought it'd be pretty straightforward to get the engine running and blast around in it. That's led to a sequence, 58 of them, episodes, where I've set about basically repairing, restoring this Porsche 928, taking the engine out, taking everything apart, and we're now in that I don't want to use the word final, we're now in that process of putting things back together. Last week before, I finalised or finished off all the brake system, and this week what I want to do is basically get some fluid in the brake system, get it up to pressure and make sure that that all doesn't leak and works. There's a few other jobs I want to do, all related to getting the engine in, which I'm hoping to do in about 3 weeks time, maybe for the Jubilee weekend, but you'll see what they are along the way. So anyway, let's just jump into the video. Please subscribe, like, keep commenting, all those things. They help me grow the channel, help me stay motivated. But for now, let's just see how I got on this week and sit back and enjoy. Right, of course, never actually having bled brakes before or built a brake system. I'm just going to have a go and see if we can do this. A little bit of grit on the top there. So I'm going to pour the brake fluid into the reservoir, and then we're going to try and suck it through using one of the vacuum brake bleeding tools. But let's just gently pour this in first and make sure there's no leaks up the top here. I've been around the system, I'm pretty sure it's all tightened up correctly, but you never know. Let's see what happens. So I've just put some in. I'm going to start the bleeder and we'll go around starting at the furthest line, which is actually the driver's side rear, because the hard pipes go down under the passenger seat and then cut across the transmission there. That makes that the longest one. Right, so with the compressor set to about 20 psi attached up, this is now connected to the bleed nipple. Bleed nipple is open, all other ones are shut. We should just press here and it should suck through. Maybe I've got the compressor set at the wrong level. Have a quick look at the reservoir, check there's enough fluid in it still. No change. Okay. And finally, it's pulled through some liquid. I don't know if you can see from there. There's definitely brake fluid in the pipe. So we're getting there. From that angle, you can keep an eye on the level for me. So I'm really struggling to pull the fluid to that passenger side rear caliper. I've done the driver's side, which is technically the longest pipe, because it goes across the bay, down the car, and then back over the transmission to the caliper. But the passenger side rear is just bubbles and little bits of liquid. After a long discussion with Sergio, who runs the Go For It channel, which is very good, I recommend it, he said, "You've got something undone," and I said, "I'm absolutely sure I have." Because when I looked, I found this front caliper wasn't tightened up. So I've tightened that one up, but it's still doing it. So I'm going to have to work all the way around the car quickly and just find out what else is still undone, and then I'm hoping it will just pull it through nicely. Right, well, I've been around all of the fittings and they're all nice and tight. The last thing I'm going to try and do is put a little bit of grease, as you can see on that nipple. That's just to stop it pulling air around the sides of the nipple. But let's try that and see how we get on now. Right, one of my favourite jobs, and not something we've done for a while, is the old rusty bolt. So these are the original, let's move that out of the way, original dampers, both of them. I need these brackets off the bottom to attach it back to the engine. All I've done is soak it in my penetrating fluid for probably, I don't know, let's call it five minutes probably. It should really have a lot longer. It'd be ideal if I left it overnight, but let's see what we're dealing with. Because it may not be that bad actually. If I can just get on there. Let's have a little look. Yeah, but it might be. Not always my. I find it very entertaining doing these. Right. The amount of hassle I have doing it. Right, I've not looked yet. It made a crack, so I brought it back on the bench so we can see what it did. I don't know which end cracked. Yeah, the bolts just come out, okay. I didn't know whether it had actually broken the weld on the other side that holds the bolt on, which would be an excuse to get the welder out, which is never a bad thing. Well, okay. I know a lot of you are arguing with that now. Let's try and get this off. Okay, there we are, 2 off. 2 in the bin. So this is slight. So actually, let's bring them back. So compared this side, it's a fair bit thinner. I can pad that out with washers, no problem there. The Boss is a little bit well. Okay, so one end's the same. This end is smaller, so I'll just drill that out. Pretty straightforward though, I think. I'm going to just tidy up here a little bit because it's a bit oily after all the penetrating oil. Okay, good. Nice clean piece of cardboard so we can carry on working. I've got to write a reminder down for myself, which I keep forgetting. There, just so I don't forget. Right, let's get the suspension, the little dampers back out. So they're the dead ones. These are the 2 brackets that we need, and that's one. I've left the other damper in the pack for the minute. I don't need it out. It's got a little bit sprayed in oil there, hasn't it? That's my best t-shirts to wipe it off on. Right, I'll tell the wife. Okay, so first what I want to do is double check if this bottom bracket, I'll get new bolts, but yeah, okay, so that is the correct size. So all we need to do then is drill out this hole to be the correct size. Right, we're all ready. This is a 7.5 diameter hole. Incidentally, this is a pack of those drills that you see advertised at car shows. And the guy's drilling through brake discs, he's drilling through everything you can imagine. That's a different set to what I got, because they're complete junk, I think, I'd say. I've had stuff where it just sits, like trying to drill through a small piece of metal and it sits there for an hour. Let's see how it goes through super hard aluminium, which should be like butter really. Let's give it a go and see what it does. Right, okay. No big deal there, no real surprise about what it took. Let's quickly do the other one. Perfect. Okay, so that's the 2 dampers adjusted. Now all I need to do is put some couple of washers either side. We'll just check if I've got the right ones. And also in the post this morning arrived new bolts and these clever little spacers I ordered. So what should happen then, I'm not sure which way around it should go, but it's probably this way around. These little spacers should be a good fit. I might have to just open up the bracket a little, but the theory being that that plus that plus that is the correct width to go into the bracket here. I can see it's slightly off. Let's have a look on the other one. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's a little bit off both sides. Okay, so it might be that I use one of these spacers and a normal thick washer then. And there's a new bolt to go as well. Was that why I bought these? Oh no, these go up here. I think they're the ones for there. I'll have to check. But that's looking good. They're replacements for those bolts, whatever those bolts were for. I can't remember now. Excellent. Okay, that's moving on nicely. So I've just painted up the heat shields that go on the cross member for the engine. This one here needs a bit of welding here. This is sort of broken through here, so that's all been re-welded. I've not tried to keep it neat, I'll be honest, but it's solid. It should be solid. But yeah, they're looking pretty good actually, surprisingly, because they were quite tatty when I got them. I'm just looking further at these exhaust heat shields. These are the ones that sit on the engine cross member. I'm fine with this side, even my, actually I repaired here, you know, I welded across there. I mean, it's pretty good. I couldn't weld there, but not a problem. What I don't like the look of is this side. This is pretty rough. So, and the other one's a little bit better actually. What I'm going to try and do is source some heat-proof material and just cut it and fit it. I mean, it can't be that hard. What I need to do is try and find the right stuff. This is sort of like a fiberglass wool with aluminium on one side. I don't think it needs to be sticky, although that looks like it probably was. There's little tabs all the way around that would hold it in. I'll see if they do heat-proof adhesive, maybe, who knows. But that's another little job that we've got on the go. Right, we think we're in a good position now to try and replace this heat shield stuff. Let me get my gloves on, because this looks a bit nasty. And we can just sort of try and strip it out, cut this and fit this back in. Right, those two can now just be left there to dry, and then we'll cut the cloth or material to fit. Right, so that's done. I didn't bother recording it because you can imagine me cutting out a piece of whatever it heat shield. It's sticky back, so they're stuck on there quite nicely. It's not the most amazing job in the world, but I mean, it doesn't look bad, let's be honest. So those, I'll screw those into the engine cross member. I think they go in like that roughly. I need to bend that down a little bit more by the looks of it. Actually like that. And that'll be that job done. That's then one more step closer to having the engine in. We've been running around the brake system and it's still pulling air in at that back, this side, whatever you want to call this, passenger side. And I've tracked it down to these fittings here. I remember I had some long fittings, I ran out of them and I had to buy some new fittings, and I think I've accidentally bought short fittings. And the problem with those is that they're not pushing the bubble flare tight into these brake pressure regulators. So the flare is not all crushed up nice and neat, forming that really good seal. All that's happened is the fitting is screwed right in tight. And I think that's where the air's coming from. So I'm going to have to cut them off, replace them. Once that's done, I'm hoping that we're going to be good. We'll be able to bleed the system and we'll be ready to go. Alright, it's time to try and do the unfortunate job of replace these fittings. So the new fittings arrive tomorrow. What I'm going to do now is just take this one off, have a look at it as a first step. I've got some little bags here somewhere, there. I'm going to tuck it on, put a little bit of tape on it just to stop it dripping everywhere. Actually, let's use my best t-shirt. Let's just tuck that under there as well, because it will drip. And we know it's not very nice stuff. I'm not expecting there to be any pressure on the system. Shouldn't be anyway. But let's just undo it and have a look. Right, that's the pipe. And the fitting will come all the way up here. So obviously I can cut the fitting off. It's just whether there's enough straight here to put inside my flaring tool. If not, I'll have to just unbend this out this direction, flare it and then rebend it back round. Well, after another hour or so, all the fittings changed, or these couple here. It's still pulling a little bit of air on that rear caliper, and I think what it's doing is actually pulling it around the nipple, which is I'm never going to be able to fix like this. So I think I want to call it quits on it, pretend it's done. The brake pedal's quite solid in the car. I'll probably switch it in this last little bit the traditional way, you know, someone in the car, pumping the pedal, and we'll just squeeze those last couple of bubbles out. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm still feeling a little bit weak after COVID last week. So we got some fluid in the system. There are still a few bubbles on the back. When I'm next under the car, I'm going to look at those connectors and just double check they're okay. I don't mind switching them out, it's not a big deal. it's only time after all. But at least the brake system's pretty much wrapped up. That's where I was aiming to get to. And we've made some progress on the heat shields, on the engine studs. I think next week the exhaust manifolds go away to be sandblasted, so they can go back on the car ready. And this is all inching towards getting that engine back in, which really it can't be far off now. I think next week the radiator will arrive, so we'll probably do a big unwrap about the radiator, which will be a lot of fun if you like radiators. But yeah, we're getting there. I'm starting to look at some of the pipework that comes around the engine bay, around by the expansion tank, that sort of side. So getting the connections ready for the radiator when that drops in. But anyway, thank you for watching as ever, and I'll see you next week.